Jerry, you ever eat a bologna sandwich in a hot tub? Call me back.
All right, everybody, welcome to SuperHouse episode 132. We are sounding buttery smooth this episode, and this is this is Andrew, as always, coming in from Los Angeles, and I'm once again joined by Maddie.
Hello.
And Stefan.
Hi, I'm Stefan.
So buttery smooth. so buttery. We have upgraded the mic situation here at SuperHouse just to, notify everybody of that. And moving into the description of this episode, which is The Incredibles 2 review, spoiler filled, and then Stefan has created a sister list to the top 10 gaming conspiracies that I made, that I compiled a few weeks ago. Mm-hmm. And this is the kind of like spiritual successor to that. And Stefan's going to be heading that one up. So getting right into it, let's go to the Incredibles 2 review. Okay. So in this episode, I have created, I like to switch it up every time. All right. So all right. I have different questions than usual. Yeah.
My man.
All right.
So near the end, if there's anything that you didn't get to that you wanted to, let me know. But, actually the first one is kind of, the normal question, but then there's, it kind of, it changes up from there. So, Maddie, one sentence review, literally one sentence, go.
Fantastic.
Stefan.
A whole hell of a lot of damn good ass bitch fun.
And
trying to extend my sentence.
I loved it. Okay. All right. Next question. Very simple, to the point, direct, gets the conversation started. Is this better than the first one, Maddie?
So it's been a very long time since I've seen The Incredibles. I've seen it a couple of times, but it's like, what'd they say, like 14 years since the first one?
We were in college.
Yeah. I mean, that's been a long ass time, dude. We're old.
Yeah. Quite old.
From what I remember, I enjoyed the fuck out of Incredibles because it came out during like when Fantastic Four 1 or 2 had come out. The Tim Story ones.
Right.
And I remember seeing whichever one came out first, and just always comparing that movie to how well The Incredibles did all their action scenes.
Right.
And going from that, I think Incredibles 2 stepped everything up a notch. And it's honestly like I didn't miss a beat between the 14 years in between Incredibles and Incredibles 2. I like that they didn't age any of them. It's like, oh, here's the sequel. It's directly after the events of the first one. There wasn't like, oh, it's been 14 years since you've seen The Incredibles. I like how it was like almost the way old sequels used to be done. Like, it was a long time in between Terminator and Terminator 2.
Right.
By today's standards anyway, because usually every year you're getting a sequel to something. Maybe every 2 years if it's just like, oh, we need to push it a little further to get it done. But, yeah, man, I liked it more than the first one. I thought the villain was a little more intriguing this time around, but also, if you remember our villains list from several weeks ago, we've done a lot of these episodes, people. I can't keep them straight. I like the villains who don't necessarily have superpowers and who are just really smart and cunning. Like this kind of reminded me of like Baron Zemo from Civil War, the villain in this, and I thought that was really cool because I honestly didn't know where Incredibles 2 was going to go. I saw one trailer and just after that kind of went into it blind, not really reading about like who was going to appear and stuff like that. But yeah, I would say it's what you do with a sequel. You make it better than the first, but you can still go back and enjoy the first one.
Stefan?
I don't think it's better than the first one. But I do think it's a very close like close second. Does that make sense? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Okay. It's a very close second to being just as good. I think there's a few things that I'm like like shrugging at, but no, to answer your question.
What was it that kind of fell short for you?
Not that anything fell short so much. I felt like it was a little predictable at a certain point, because once they introduced that mystery of the screenslaver, the whole time you're like, all right, who is it? And then they only provide you with so many avenues there, and so it's kind of like I felt like kind of guessed that it was going to be that chick, which is cool. I thought for a kids movie, it's like hell yeah.
Yeah, I was like, it's a kids movie too. They have to make it a little bit understandable for
like,
them, because
totally.
a mom was like next to her kid, and the kid asked her a question about like what was going on, and I was like, all right, I get it. It might be a little bit like hard for kids to follow.
Right.
You know, for me, it's oh, I can follow this. Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, so the adult me is like the Roger Ebert in me is like, you know, but it's solid. But I've seen the first Incredibles kind of recently, and it's just like so solid. It's just like, you know, Brad Bird, Iron Giant, then Incredibles, you know, and the sequel to something so monumental by such a monumental guy in animation and stuff is you know, it's hard to. This is a sophomore album basically of the Incredibles material, so he's. You know, it's hard to live up to something so legendary in my eyes, or you know, in terms of animation and stuff, not just my eyes, I guess.
Yeah, I understand you on that. I do think it was probably a little better than the first one, not by leaps and bounds, but I mean, it's still like a fucking accomplishment. Yeah, because the first one's so fucking solid.
Yeah, I think that they're neck and neck, really. There's a couple of things, but I guess I'll get to more of it.
What makes this one? It's what Maddie said too. I think I like the villain more in this one, even though, and again, what you just said, it's predictable as fuck. As when they introduce those two characters, the brother and sister, you're like, okay, it's one of these two,
right? And you really
have to go in. You have to like know. This is a kids movie, dude.
Right,
like
exactly.
A lot of times, like we're not the fucking age group, man. So honestly, maybe it's cheap, but they get a fucking pass. Yeah. They do. It's fine.
I really liked the villain. I liked when you see her costume, when she, you know, she's got her villain costume or whatever. But for the most part, she's pretty plain in terms of like her representation, as compared to the villain from the first one, who's so cartoony and colorful. You know. To me, that's similar to like what we were saying about like Ready Player One, or what I was saying about the villain Ready Player One. Like, yeah, it makes sense to us in our reality for sure, but at the same time, you know, all these other characters are so bombastic, you know, and she's not so much. But that is to say, you know, it's a kids movie, and I did really like her.
I don't know if I wanted another bombastic villain for this.
I feel you.
For the second part. I mean, we had it. The Underminer gets away at the beginning of the film,
and you had
so
him.
that could be
that fight was really cool. Anyway.
The season 3 fucking Incredibles 3 villain. I mean, that has to come to some kind of conclusion. I mean, I'm not faulting them for not wrapping that up, because I feel like there's a longer arc here that, you know, I hope I don't have to wait another 14 years for an Incredibles 3.
Who, the Underminer?
Yeah. Because he gets away.
He was. That's true. He was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, he was great. He was pretty smart about everything he did, having his little side contraption with the money in it to get away from Mr. Incredible. I mean, it wasn't a dumb villain. Like when at the end of Incredibles, you see him and you're like, oh God, really? Underminer? Ugh. And then it's like you see him again and you're like, oh, he's actually can stand up against Mr. Incredible. He's like a smarter villain than I
and
thought.
Those hands that he had, that shit was cool. He was creepy. One thing I like about the way Brad Bird interprets his villains is you know, there's a sense of like real eeriness to some of them, real kind of like, this is something really fantastical, not just a cool costume. That
was one thing I liked in the writing when it's like, I think all three superheroes are there: Frozone, Mr. Incredible, and Elastigirl, and and Bob Odenkirk's character is telling that story about his parents.
Yeah.
And she's like, why didn't they just go to the safe room? And he's like, he gets a little mad at her, and he's like, no, we needed heroes. And I was like, that's cool. That's a little subtlety that this, as an adult, I really like.
Yeah.
You know, I felt, because it's like, obviously I should have known at that point that she was going to be the villain because she doesn't agree with her brother, but I was like, I don't really know at this point. It could be either one of them. I know it's between the two. And there was enough guesswork there for me as an adult that was like, all right, cool. I'm ready to play this out. See who's going to be the villain. And I was like, kind of hoping it wasn't the girl, but I was kind of hoping it wasn't the other guy too. I was like, come out of left field with someone. But I was like, it's got to be someone.
And also, much to my, not even to begin with, like, not that any of my, what I'm saying was a gripe at all. it's dawning on me now that the villains that, or the heroes that turned villains through mind control and stuff like that, you got kind of like the Sinister Six all of a sudden built in. You didn't have to know their stories because they were part of like a bigger story, so you got those kind of villain moments for these characters.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Cool. So the next question is, did you have a fucking epileptic seizure watching this movie? Maddie.
I saw that. I did not, but I saw the little the little paper they had printed out at the theater, and I was like, "What?
What?
I mean,
something happened?"
I get that. I mean, that's an intense scene where it happens, and I was
It's
like,
2 or 3 scenes, man. They keep coming back with it.
Well,
When they have like the mind control
about
shit.
when Elastigirl's closed in the room and he's shocking her, because that's the most intense moment. Because that whole room is like doing all that shit, and I was like, "Oh God!" Even in my mind, I was like, "This is intense, Brad Bird. Why the fuck did you do this?"
I bet in 3D that's where it happened, huh?
Maybe. I just watched a standard screening of it because it's cheaper. Seattle's fucking expensive.
Yeah, Denver.
But no, I mean, I was kind of like, I like when they post stuff like that because I'm like, ooh, I wonder what scene they're talking about. I'm ready. But yeah, I was like, that stuff doesn't really affect me, and I'm sure there are people that it does affect and stuff. And it's good that they put up those postings just because. The one that, like, the only time they put up a posting that I thought was dumb was when in The Last Jedi, when it goes silent and people didn't understand that was just a moment in the movie.
I hate that.
And I was like, I get putting up a warning for people who are prone to seizures because of certain things that can trigger them. But come on, people, learn to watch a movie that's not a big budget one. Come on.
Stefan?
Did I have an epileptic seizure?
Yeah.
Just say yes and tell us all about it.
I was cold as fuck in the theater.
That's
why you
bro.
bring a blanket.
Well, I wear like cut off jean shorts, hipster style, and
You
just like a
fucking
t-shirt.
hipster.
And I forget that this theater that I go to in particular, it's the budget theater, but it's nice. They serve food there. I got a burger. It was good.
Goddamn. Nothing better than that.
But yeah, it gets cold in there, so I'm like sitting there, like really enjoying the movie and stuff like that. But I'm like, I guess I like grown ass man, like I look like a little kid with my arms in my shirts, and my knees to my chest, you know. Just like, thanks for my burger, sir.
I wish I could eat it with my normal arms, but I have to use my T-Rex arms to eat it.
Yeah, just
I'm
my
so
hands.
cold.
Oh fuck! All the cheese fell out.
All right. To answer this question, I first got to ask Maddie this. Maddie, what's your prescription on your glasses?
I don't know. It's
You're
like
negative this or that?
Yeah, I mean, my glasses they allow me to see like slightly better than 20/20.
Oh, you don't know the number? Like, if you ever
No.
worn contacts? Okay.
No, I don't wear contacts, dude. I can't put shit in my eye. That shit's scary. What if it gets stuck in there? Oh, I don't want to think about it. Shut up.
Reason I ask is because I'm full disclosure here. I am highly nearsighted.
Yeah.
Usually people are like -2, -3. I'm -8 and -7.75. Different in each eye.
Stefan,
And
I think we need to get another host. I can't deal with this.
I
Are
do.
you blind?
I see. I probably am legally blind without my glasses, but I see 20/20 with correction. They're always surprised if I go to like a new eye doctor.
Yeah.
They're like, "Whoa, you get corrected like crazy!" Like, wow. So I see just fine with contacts or glasses, but anyway, the point I'm trying to get to is I think it makes me a little bit more light sensitive, and I didn't have a
seizure.
I didn't have a seizure, but I had to kind of look away for a moment, man. That was fucking me up.
Well, and this is during the hypnotizing scenes you're talking about.
Yeah.
And did somebody actually
much.
Did somebody actually have an epileptic seizure during the screening?
No, but they did send out
They warned?
warnings because, there's the whole Pokemon shit going on.
Y'all are a bunch of pussies.
Some kids might find out they have a problem seeing this movie, dude. You never know.
What better way to find out than with your role models and your parents around?
And a group of people that can help you.
Yeah, there might be a doctor there. Some guy passed out in the fucking restaurant that I work in the other day, fell face first on a concrete floor. And there was a doctor. It was like a TV show moment. I felt like we were in Grey's Anatomy because the guy fell over and it's like, oh my God, stop. Everybody's like gasped.
Wait,
to
what movie was this for?
This was in my job. This was my real life.
Oh, shit.
Yes, but I was saying it's like a Grey's Anatomy episode where the guy falls over, everybody gasps, and just a guy, he's like, I'm a doctor. he's just like right next to him, you know. I was like, what the fuck? I'm just sitting there watching it like, this is crazy. Like,
did he had an allergic reaction?
No, they were hung over, I guess. We thought he was having a seizure, but they were like, all these friends like partied hard, I guess. They all came in looking all sickly and shit. And then they just didn't get their food in time because on the weekends it takes a while. And they didn't get their food in time for them not to, like, their blood sugar was low or whatever. And
oh my God!
Just passed out and fell.
So people
crunched his head.
People party like crazy in Denver, huh?
Well, they were in from out of town, especially now in the summer. There's like a ton of fucking raves out here. So you get like a lot of EDM fans and stuff, and they come in for brunch because they want mimosas and shit and like their hangovers and stuff. And this group was like, oh man, it like stopped everything up for a second. Everybody was like, oh my God. And
I was at a birthday brunch this morning. All right. Moving forward. All right, so no epileptic seizures all around. That's good. All right. No. Most negative question in the list. What was the worst thing about the movie, Maddie?
I don't think I had a worst moment. I don't think there was anything. Well, not in the movie, but goddamn theater experiences, right? Why do people talk? Like, so there's that scene where Jack grows big, but before that, they have to extinguish the fire, Jack, right? Yeah. And then the bad guys walk in, and someone goes, well, what happened to the purple, blueberry, lavender stuff? And in my head, I went, who the fuck cares, dude? It's a kid's movie.
Right.
It's like, and then he made me think about that where I wouldn't have thought about it before. It's like, well, first off, you have Dash, who is basically the Flash, so he cleaned it up. Duh, move the fuck on, you stupid idiot. This is a superhero movie, dude. They use them superpowers to get rid of that blueberry shit. Or Jack ate it all. Who knows how fast Jack can eat? He's got so many powers. So shut the fuck up, enjoy the fucking movie, so I can enjoy the fucking movie. Like, it doesn't bother me when a mom's telling a kid, I'm in a kid's movie, but these people behind me were definitely in their 20s, maybe like seniors in high school or something. It's like, come on, dude. Do I need to explain it to you? Do they need to show you how they cleaned up the mess in a movie?
Yeah.
No, then we're getting into Cyborg and fucking Flash digging up Superman territory.
Yeah, I don't need
That's worse though.
Yeah, I don't need to know any of that shit, especially like some stuff it wasn't even on my radar of how they cleaned that shit up. I remember seeing it when they introduced it. I was like, oh, that seems pretty messy. And then he started eating. I was like, Jack's just going to eat it all. Who knows how much food he has to eat because he can use all these powers. Fine, done. I get it. I've coped with it. I can continue on with this movie. But just like hearing that guy like out of in my left ear, I was like, oh, you motherfucker. These people were also kicking the back of my seat slightly, or during the little short before it, this girl could not stop laughing at it.
Oh my God.
Right behind me. And I was like, what's funny about what's happening? Like, yeah, she ate her son, but it's because she's having to deal with the fact that she lost him. And like, they haven't reconciled their differences, or, you know, she's just an overprotective mom. And I was like, let the movie fucking finish before you, because she was like, oh, but God, she ate her son. Oh my God. And I was like, this isn't literal. This isn't her real son.
People have a hard time with that shit. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like,
very annoying.
And it was just like, and she just couldn't stop laughing. And even her friends were like, dude, you got to chill out. And I was like, it was like right behind me. And I like turned around and just like looked at one of them. There wasn't the one right behind me. And they were like, you got to be quiet. And I was like, yeah, you better shut the fuck up, because this is part of the movie. I want to watch the story. I wanted to see it complete. But it's like, I mean, I get laughing at something, or oohing or awing, or gasping at something scary, jumping, saying, oh shit. But that should be the extent of the theater. You shouldn't have a full conversation. And I also get that, like, some kids don't get what's going on. Parents have to explain. I'm in a kid's movie, for Christ's sake. I can handle that. Like, some kid going, Mom, what happened? Like, I don't like a kid not getting it. That's fine, because you're young as shit. I'm a grown-ass man. I know when to sit down and shut the fuck up.
Some kid kept kicking the back of my seat, and I was like, I'm not going to be the guy to get up and angry at a kid. I'm just going to take it. I'm going to sit here and take it.
No, but when you're teenagers, you better look the fuck out for Maddie. I'm coming. I'll look at you. That's all I'll do. I'll just look at you sternly like, what would your parents think?
I had one dad behind me during the first little animated short when it was getting all teary-eyed. The guy's like, Brielle, are you doing okay? How are you, girls? And she's like, shut the fuck up. Like, let them cry if they want to cry. You don't know about it. You're in a theater.
You don't have to check in that early, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, that's the only part of that experience I got.
And Stefan, worst thing about them. Oh, keep going, Maddie.
Oh no, I was just saying, and it's like it's not going to be anything that bad. Like they might cry a little because it's a sad story. It's not like you took them to see some PG-13 movie. You're like, are you girls okay? It's like Pixar makes these movies for a reason. They know what they put out.
Being like, close your eyes, don't look at this.
Oh my God, she just ate her dumpling, son. Look away.
I would never do that to
you, children. I would never eat you.
What goes into your head?
Until a post-apocalyptic event happened and I had to eat you. All right, anyway, go ahead, son.
Yeah.
I'd eat my kids.
Worst thing about the movie, Stefan?
I think for me, if there is such a thing, it's probably that my only thing that I can think of is that it seemed like Brad Bird was trying to kind of introduce some kind of like statement or message about like having too many screens in front of us or something.
Real quick, only in one scene, right? Like it's kind of in and out.
No, I mean, yeah, it kind of is in and out, exactly. But yeah, it's not just in one scene though. I think in a couple scenes they kind of touch on that a little bit.
The whole movie's about someone controlling screens, by the way.
I know, but it seems like they that Brad Bird kind of like sidestepped his message just to have like a tightly wrapped plot structure, you know?
You think he should have leaned more into the message or less?
I don't think that he should or shouldn't have done anything. I just thought it was odd that they just barely kind of touched on that aspect without exploring it further. Because they could have shown more aspects of like other people being controlled by these screens, and also because the time frame is kind of like anachronistic, I guess. It's not really like 1950s, but some of it kind of is, and it's like kind of contemporary. But you know, people have smart devices. And
I think that it's the whole show. Both of them are set in modern times, 100%. They just use a 1950s pulp superhero aesthetic just for fun.
Sure. So, but basically, all I'm saying is just I thought it was odd that, and maybe again because it's a kids movie and you don't want to maybe go too deep into that for whatever reason. But I just thought it was interesting. It seemed like that he kind of drew some attention to that and then kind of stepped back from it a little. bit.
Like it wasn't part of the. It seems to be a big like motivating factor for the villain.
The aspect of. Because most of the people who are actually controlled like zombies were controlled with goggles, you know.
Right.
But it just seemed it was like just like
the kids were the only one who weren't controlled by any of it.
Yeah.
Which is
I just thought maybe he was reaching for a message maybe in an earlier draft and kind of pulled away from it a little bit. So it didn't stop up the movie for me or anything like that. I just thought it was odd.
They try to hit on issues in Incredibles. That's not the first time. Like even in the first one, they're like, there's a whole family argument where he's like, the father's like, why can't we let our kids be great? You know, and he wants the kids to use their powers, and he's totally for it, which I think is cool. And then the mother is like, no, they got to hide. We're superheroes. We got to have a secret identity and shit. And I think ultimately it's kind of metaphorical, I guess. It's just like, let your kids be great. You know what I mean? Don't interfere. But in the story, it's confusing because in the first one, he wants to let the son run track. his son's a fucking Flash. You know, like he can't, like if he runs track, it's not going to matter. You know, like it's just kind of like, it's almost like a kind of failed metaphor. Like I get it, but it's a little bit weird, I think, in the first one. Yeah. And there's the other one too, like in this one, I think it's actually even better where they're having a family conversation. Sorry to hijack your point here.
No, you're good.
They're having that conversation about, you know, what is it like? What's lawful and what's right? We're gonna teach our kids that what they're doing is wrong, or I can't remember what exactly they were saying, but I found myself once again agreeing with the dad, and I kind of wish they made the like I agree with the mother too, but.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That was really at the crux of, I guess, maybe what I'm thinking of too, is because I didn't really feel like I aligned myself with anybody's, you know, stance in particularly.
Yeah.
You know, I thought they both made good points and stuff like that, but they were again kind of facilitating the whole world to exist by these kind of big pillar stances of, you know, just to make the story interesting, but not to think too deeply into it. Yeah, there were aspects of it where I was just kind of like, okay, like he's, you know, parts of it felt like they were trying to put, like he was really trying to write some meaty stuff in there, but then drew it back a little bit. Yeah, that's kind of how the whole movie felt to me in terms of this kind of stuff, like messages and you know, like, you know, a lot of kids movies are contingent on this big message, which you know. That's kind of a gray area for me here. I do like messages, but I think in appropriate ways. But anyway, so this one just felt like, okay, you know, we got a lot of really good action. The story, for the most part, is really good, and the plot structure is really good. Like, you know, maybe I feel like he didn't lean into it as much as maybe either he wanted to or as much as he could.
So you're saying like go all the way or not at all?
No, not so black and white. I'm just saying maybe again there could have been a better balance of those kind of things, and you could have kind of squirted out maybe like there was a lot of good messages in the film, so I don't want to make it seem like there weren't a whole lot. I just felt like parts of it were a little bit holy. Right. So maybe just get a feel for the overall, like balance of the way your movie's playing out. He likes
to pepper that kind of thing in, which is
yeah, and I think you know he was at his peak with like Iron Giant and the first Incredibles, and it's 14 years later. You know, how do you stir yourself to do that again, or maybe he's still there, or I don't know exactly where his head was at, but it's also interesting to see
right
how that played out. So not really any gripes, just that's the first thing that came to my mind.
All right. Best thing about the movie, Maddie?
I mean, there's a lot that's really good about it. I mean, I don't feel like any of us have had any complaints with it.
Oh, sorry, I forgot to say my worst thing.
Go ahead.
Sorry, Maddie. To me, the worst thing was, we already touched on it a little bit. It was just, for me as an adult, it was way easy to see it was going to be one of the two, brother and sister. I saw it like a mile away.
Yeah.
The villain reveal. But even that, it's
Wait,
a kid's
did you know
movie.
it was going to be the sister?
I knew it was going to be one of the two.
So you didn't know who the villain was going to be?
Not exactly, but they pointed
it's still
right.
pretty good. I mean,
I know.
You only had two people to choose from, but you didn't choose the right one.
There's a red herring there, which is the brother, which is cool. Yeah. And even this complaint, it's a kid's movie. Like, just I gotta let it go. You know, like it's fine. So back to Maddie. Best thing, scene, anything, factor of the movie.
Cool. I mean, I don't really have any problem with anything. I mean, I liked everything in the movie. I thought everything was like just up to everything, more so than like the first Incredibles, which is what I want from a sequel. I really enjoyed the Jack raccoon fight, and when he looks at the raccoon and like looks back at the robber, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I get it." Trying to stealing my chicken legs from my garbage can. I really laughed a lot at that point, and I thought it was because when it was first happening, I was like, "This is kind of weird," and then I just kind of got into it, and I was like, "Well, what else is Jack gonna fight at this point to like see all his powers and stuff?" But I will say that raccoon put up a hell of a fight, dude. You might want to include that raccoon in The Incredibles, by the way. Just saying,
Yeah,
because
tryouts.
this guy this baby has laser eyes,
Right.
and then turns into a demon or can light himself on fire. So if a raccoon can survive. I don't know. I thought that fight was very funny. I thought all the action scenes were super well done. It's just, it's like you watch some of these big budget comic book movies and they don't, like, these action scenes are great in The Incredibles. And I get it, it's CG, it's an animation, so you can kind of do a lot more, but I feel like Elastigirl, like, everything she does, it's so well done. Like, there's that part where Void is like, use your parachute, and you're like, oh my god, she better use her parachute. I don't know what she's gonna do, but then she throws out one of her portals, and then she parachutes at the last second to save the villain. And I was like, that was sick. Right. And like they'd never even really worked together before. They just like understand each other's powers, and like Elastigirl understands. And I really like that weird kind of connection. Like you don't have to explain everything to me. Like they get each other because they're heroes, and this is what should happen. And I really like that moment. I'm sure there's a lot of other stuff. Another thing I really liked that it was an Elastigirl movie, and then it became the family movie at the end. I'm glad I didn't follow Mr. Incredible. I'm glad he took a back seat because he was the main focus of the last movie, And I really liked that Elastigirl was, she's pretty badass, dude. When she gets on a motorcycle, and there's that moment where she's like, "Oh yeah, and I had a mohawk." He's like, "You had a mohawk?" And she's like, "It wasn't a big deal." I was like, I want to see that movie.
Yeah.
I want to see punk rock Elastigirl before she became a mom. Prequel. But I'm sure there's a shit ton more, but I don't want to take all of them. So on to the next person.
Stefan?
I think the best part of the movie was just like the overall classic like American animation sensibility that Brad Bird brings to his shit. It's just so good. And really the overall cleverness of like the whole rest of the movie, other than some of the things that may have bothered me a little. It was just like really clever, really funny. I love the design of all the different characters. They're so significant and like special in their own way. The electricity guy, he just had that weird looking kind of like morph face, Morph from X-Men. He had that weird like sickly kind of look, but he was this kind of weird hero. That Crusher guy, or Brick, he's kind of Juggernaut looking, but he's a hero as supposedly, and just his design is just so wild. That little hair and like the structure of the just the design of all these characters was just so entertaining to watch them do anything. I loved Void. Her power was so well done, and her personality was really cool, and how she was just like hero worshipping Elastigirl, and I love that peering into the cultural aspects of superheroes and stuff. Like I could take 15 more of these movies. Man, I love it. It's just such a great, refreshing, but also kind of old school look at superheroes and the way they're represented on screen and stuff. And you can tell he just had so much fun. The owl guy, that was so creepy.
Oh yeah.
Or Reflux, the old man.
Yes.
Who like spewed out his acid bile or
That's
whatever.
A fucking
it was
gross
like,
ability, by the way.
Yes, I loved it.
Take
man.
notes.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
And then how the kids are cleverly using their powers and how it's kind of like natural to them. Because I love Dash so much, and he could easily just be like a two-dimensional character. He could be, no pun intended, but he could easily. Just kind of just be there to service the speed needs of the team or whatever. But he's so clever because, when he's off playing and stuff, he's constantly using his superpowers. When he can get a second away from his parents or his sister, he's probably doing all kinds of dumb little boy shit, like trying to test his abilities. And I bet he's run into some really interesting, this is just me speculating, but you see how these kids are thinking and how they've used their powers. They seem to have experience. They seem to have a real knack for their own personal abilities. And I loved seeing that, and how Jack he didn't really learn his powers so much as he is his powers, and that was really interesting to watch. And kind of mind bending, and then the outer limits stuff. I love the background sound, the sound design. Mm-hmm. Oh man, it's just like pitch perfect. I haven't seen a Pixar movie in the theaters since Brave, and this was fucking so much fun.
Yeah, I think I haven't seen one since WALL-E. So.
Shit. Yeah. All right, yeah, so best thing for me about the movie, I agree with Maddie, it's the fucking raccoon and Jack scene.
So good.
God, just to him looking at the TV, seeing the villain with the domino mask, and then seeing the raccoon with a similar pattern. He's like, you must be a villain too. And then, you kind of see this like full display of his powers. And yeah, and then that raccoon just fucking holding it down, man. Yeah, that raccoon does need to be part of the team, man. That guy was great.
Yeah, that fight was the like white knuckle knockdown drag out fucking brawl we haven't seen since fucking Infinity War.
Yeah,
pretty much. Yeah,
it was awesome.
Fucking Brad Bird really is a master storyteller. You see it time and time again. He doesn't have many misses. I do enjoy the kind of like deeper themes thrown in, just peppered in throughout the film. I do agree with Stefan in this a little bit in the sense that it's a little they could lean into the concept a little more, but then at the same time, like how much do you need to? Like it's very like I don't know who can answer that question.
Not a big deal.
Yeah.
Really,
so
when it comes down to it.
Yeah, that's just not a huge thing, and the family, like when you see the trailers for this film, they focus more on the family aspect than the powers aspect. So you get a very clear idea of what this is about, and that's you can see like that. That's how they write it. This is a family. With powers. Family is first. This is a family drama, and all the characters feel real. I feel like I knew, even though I didn't know anybody with superpowers, I feel like I knew kids like Jack. I mean, like Dash. I knew kids. I knew the girl.
They're so relatable.
Yeah, the girl is very relatable as well. What's her name again? Violet. Violet, very relatable. The mother and the father, of course, and I did really enjoy the focus on Elastigirl this time because Maddie was right. We already saw his story pretty much. Like, of course, there's more to tell, but Jesus Christ, this is a fucking family here. Let's focus on the mother now. I want to see him
older, or I think the most logical next step is a Frozone movie.
Oh, that's got to be the next spinoff.
And I just want to mention before we move on is Frozone, the level of his ability. He's a powerful motherfucker. To see the amount of ice he was able to build to stop things and stuff was like unbelievable.
And I like how
very good use of powers.
And one thing that really interests me with superhero movies and something like this is to see the way that heroes and villains and stuff stack up against each other, and like in the X-Men universe how some are like Omega mutants and stuff. And so seeing Frozone, I was like, this dude is insanely powerful. It was nuts.
Yeah, I really liked how he could control, the ice that he used was specific, because at the end, when he stops the ship, it was like crushed ice.
Yeah,
that was I was like, that's interesting. That's so good, because like when he was trying to turn the ship, he was using like big chunks of ice. It wasn't. So I was like, man, whoever's paying attention, like Brad Bird is like, no, he would use this kind of ice. Because he would know how to manipulate his powers to make the. I thought that was fucking like a nice detail.
And that Sam Jackson had a meteor bit this time around was great, man.
You know who I need to see? Honey. His wife.
Honey. I know.
Honey.
She's just the voice, so we need to
better be back ASAP.
Yeah.
That's part of the spinoff, man. That's going to be Frozone the movie.
Frozone movie, Pixar, let's do it.
100%.
I wanted to say real quick that I like that the kids also in the movie, like before it was always like in the first film, I felt like they were like, oh, we don't know our powers, and like, do we want to do this? And in this one, like, we're superheroes. We got to fucking go right now.
Yeah.
I like how they didn't miss a beat to go save their parents. It's like they knew what they needed to do.
Yeah, I also like that too. I was going to get to that. The movie has like moments, like whenever the parents and Frozone, they get mind wiped or whatever. They have the goggles on. That's like, oh shit, they're going there. I thought that was a cool moment. and then like Jack just uses his fucking infinite amount of powers just to take it off. That was awesome. I was like, damn, this is really fucking good, dude. This is the shit. I was enjoying that thoroughly. And also Void, she was great. It was like the game Portal made into her powers, which was fucking awesome. And I do like the fact that she and Elastigirl, they just vibe, dude. Like Elastigirl, she's old enough to know a good person when she sees him. And she just knows that she's good. Boom. But that's all you need to know. And,
I like when they fought too, and Void was, smart enough to know that she could whip around Elastigirl's fist right at her, punch her.
Right.
Oh, it's so cool.
I love that moment when Violet is like putting her force field up, and then Void goes into the bubble to get her out of it, and I was like, that's sick. You guys know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yes, I do. Yeah. It was awesome.
It's so good. Violet's powers are really cool too, and the way she uses them. Oh man. And then again, like Mr. Incredible and stuff, to see how indestructible he was, and how he uses brute force, like, because he's not so smart. He's really hard-headed, but that's kind of his forte. So.
But he fucking tries, like you see, like
he does try.
In the middle of the night, he's studying math for his son. It's like, in that moment. You get to see like this side of him, like he is a brute force guy, but he's also like he's going the fucking extra mile at home, dude. Like I know I would be sleeping, bro.
If there's one thing I know about Andrew Bush, he loves that sleeping.
I do.
No matter what time, if he's sleepy, he gonna sleep.
That's true.
I remember that.
I have never had insomnia in my life. All right. Next question. How do you think they will deal with Jack moving forward now that he's so powerful? Like, what do you think they're going to do with him as far as, like, a sequel, Because now I feel like they almost wrote themselves into a corner with this type of power, Do you have any idea with this, Maddie?
I would say for an Incredibles 3, I'd like maybe a time jump and see the kids a little older, like Dash maybe has some new powers. Violet's like can control hers really well, and then Jack's a little older, so, does he have all his powers still? I'm ready to take that journey to see how he controls them all. If he can tap into them still at this point in age. But I definitely think, a couple years or, like a 5-year jump for Incredibles 3 would be a smart move. Right. Just because we've seen 2 films with them in similar ages. Maybe they're a year older or something, but they look pretty similar to the way they did in the first one.
Oh, it's like right from the jump, dude.
Yeah, so I definitely think like Incredibles 3 has to like step it up. Like maybe Violet has more powers, Dash can do more stuff with his speed, because if we're comparing Dash to the Flash, the Flash has all kinds of abilities, like time. He can go through time, and so can Dash do those? Can he run that fast? Like, I think we need to explore the kids next. I mean, Frozone for sure, but I feel like he kind of needs a prequel movie almost. And I would like to explore the kids next, because they are kind of in the background, even though they are important to the story and they all have their little arcs throughout. But I feel like the next film needs to be about them, like, Violet becoming older and maybe going to college at this point, Dash becoming a teenager, Jack getting older and like what his powers can do. Maybe he has an issue where he can't use them all at specific times. But that's what I would like to see happen with like The Incredibles on the next outing. Just don't take 14 years. You can take 5 or 6.
It had the biggest opening of all time for an animated feature, so we might be seeing that sequel sooner than expected. Stefan.
What was the question again? Sorry,
how are they going to deal with Jack going forward, seeing how he's so powerful?
Yeah. I think for an Incredibles 3, it's definitely like a lot of what Maddie was saying. I think it's definitely got to be about the kids. And if not central to Jack and him now learning his abilities, maybe in his toddler stage, or maybe a jump forward. I think that would be really interesting. But I think if we go from like how the second film starts basically where the first film ends, and so there's not really a whole huge gap there. So maybe one option is to keep consistent with that and maybe do like a couple years. But then also, yeah, it'd just really be interesting to see them in a more grown stage. So in that case, yeah, I think definitely we're focusing on Jack and controlling his abilities. But I also think possibly the threat of him either being like forcibly like detained by the government or concerned party or something like that, or somebody tries to harness his power either by brainwashing him or by kidnapping him wholesale. But either way, any of those options all sound great to me, and I'm sure whatever I haven't even thought of, Brad Bird's already dreaming up.
What if Jack becomes the villain, like you say, like with like mind control or something?
I thought about that.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, that would be cool.
Yeah, so we've done the mind control thing in this one, but then some other kind of.
I mean, Jack could just understand like
theme.
If we do jump forward in time, make him older where he understands how powerful he is.
Yeah.
And maybe something happens
or
within the film.
Or he's just learning how powerful he is. Yeah.
And something happens where he's just like, well, I could have changed that, and I'm going to change things. And like his parents are like, you can't do this. Like Violet's at college, Dash is around, but he's like got his friends, and Jack is alone.
I think
I'm just speculating. I know Brad Bird is like, he gets paid to think of better ideas. I'm just throwing shit out. I'm just throwing shit. Listen, Brad Bird,
for
if you
my
need
money
me to bounce ideas off of, I'm not doing anything.
Call me.
From my end, I think it'd be really interesting. Well, I think the central core of The Incredibles is the family unit and stuff like that, and how they come together and how they learn together.
But that'd be great to tear them apart. Maybe Incredibles.
No, that's what I'm getting at. I don't think I could take it going like a dark route to where Jack is somehow, against his parents or whatever. I think with these movies, there's been a clear picture painted of like, not so much like good and evil as much as like ideologies being conflicted. But yeah, I could see Jack being torn between that. It's just, now there's an emphasis on how powerful he is for sure, and your first instinct is that is going to be attempted to turn evil somehow or be used for evil. So I think that's kind of the logical route.
Is it too soon? Is it like The Last Jedi? It's too soon?
On the broad spectrum. And that's the thing, too, is like you can't end it on a dark note either, you know what I mean? So I think it's more likely that he'd be kidnapped or, you know what I mean, or brainwashed or something like that. I could see something, where I could see something where he's convinced that his parents don't love him anymore or something, manipulated, by, a teacher of some sort, or like, kind of the Palpatine route, I guess. Where somebody's trying to manipulate him, but then it's his whole journey to not only he knows how powerful he is, but also that he's like learning the right and wrong ways to use his powers, basically, which I think is a theme that would run consistent with the stuff we've seen so far.
I'm down, dude.
That would be so tight, dude. I want an Incredibles 3 right now.
I definitely think at this point they have to do a trilogy. It's like leave it at Incredibles 2 would be.
I hope a series of films.
Well, until there was talk of Incredibles 2, I was just like, God, it's been a long time. We're not getting one.
Yeah.
And then it was just like, oh shit, we're getting one.
Yeah.
And it's like, this one did really well, so I assume we will. Yeah. The way that things work in the industry, but I just ended at 3. I don't know. I kind of want a 4th one, man. Like, have me Jack. Like,
that's where that's where Maddie gets his Jack Venom movie,
and then the Frozone movie on its own. On its own. So there's your 4 right there.
Yeah,
Frozone. But no, I need a Frozone standalone.
Well, it'll be its own,
and then I need an Incredibles 3, maybe 4. maybe I want too much. Maybe I want too much from Brad Bird.
The reason I asked this is because it's like the Superman thing. You introduce a character very, very powerful. It's kind of like writing yourself into a corner. They do write good Superman shit all the time, but it is a little more difficult, I'd say. Honestly, I didn't know. I don't have an answer either. I think that they could like introduce some sort of kryptonite or emotional kryptonite. I don't know how they would do that, but like what you guys said about like sort of convincing him as like a 6-year-old. Like if we jump 5 years ahead, he's like 6 years old and he's like convinced that his parents are evil or something like that. And maybe that would work. Or Jack, there's the villain is sort of a kryptonite, but he's like the exact kind of villain that can take Jack head on, because right now, from what we've seen, Jack can take on anybody. He's the most powerful. He's like the most powerful mutant in X-Men. Well,
I mean, you'd have to think that he's not the only one born with so many abilities.
Somebody else has it, right? So that's the villain. So then you have an equal, it's like Superman and Zod, like equal power level, and kind of go from there. But other than that, I'm not really sure how they do it. But Brad Bird and his team are they've been proven time and time again they're really good at this. So I'm sure we'll see what happens, man. Okay.
Sweet.
Next one, second to last question here. Maybe this should have been asked first, but Bao, the short film before it, I had like some onions going on in my screen, bro. Something was going on in there, and I don't know
what do you mean.
Somebody was just cutting onions in my fucking screening.
Did you go to a 4DX show? Like, what the fuck?
I don't know what it was, man. It was weird.
Oh, you start crying a lot because you're a softie?
So, Maddie,
cutting onions.
you said a little bit before, but do you have anything else to add about Bao? I think that's the name of it.
I mean, I enjoyed it. Man, I don't know. I always enjoy those shorts a lot, but it's been a while since I've seen them. I honestly, when I was watching, I was like, "Oh yeah, they do this before these movies."
Yes,
because it's been a while since I saw one, and I mean, it was fun to see, but I was just kind of ready to get into Incredibles 2 since it's been a long time, and I was just ready to start, and it didn't really pump me up for Incredibles 2, which I don't think any of those films that they show are supposed to do that. I mean, the animation
fucking bullshit.
The animation style was cool. I got the message. It was short and sweet. I mean, I'd definitely be interested in whatever that team does next. There's just a sidestep for a split second. There's a dude do you guys know Lucas the Spider?
No.
He was a guy who worked on like either Sony or he worked in Pixar, but it's a little, like a jumping spider, but he was like, I want to try to make this thing look cute, and I adore this little dude. And I was watching this, and I was like, I kind of want to see a Lucas the Spider short instead, because I want a feature film of Lucas the Spider. But he's just kind of cute, and he has his like, I guess like his little nephew in real life does the voice for Lucas, and he's just kind of adorable. Like there's a short where the spider's on a chair and he goes, oh, and it's like a dog is laying down. He's like, and it's all like kind of like a golden retriever, kind of just more white. And he goes, oh, what's that? I don't know what that is. I think it's a polar bear. I'm going to go boop it on the nose. And then like the spider runs down there, boops him on the nose, and the dog wakes up and he's like, ah, and runs off. It's just like super cute. And I kind of wanted a Lucas the Spider short because I want a full length movie, guys.
There was some movie, I can't remember, it was like the last Pixar film or something where they had a short in front of it, and it was like I think it was Moana, dude. It was like 25 minutes long, and then like 2 or 3 weeks after a lot of complaints, Disney sent a new cut to theaters without it because it just had a lot of backlash. It was like, what the fuck? We came here for Moana, man.
Yeah, that would be irritating as all hell.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, I don't necessarily needed that short in front of it. I mean, I think it's cool to like, I mean, these guys who made this, if they had a cool idea, they have a cool animation style, that's great. I mean, you need to showcase these artists, and I'm not saying don't. It's just, and I mean, I guess it's hard to get people just to go see a showcase of Pixar shorts. I don't think I would show up to the theater to see that. I think it's interesting, and I do think they've had some really good ones before, films, but I don't want to say this one's bad because I don't think it's bad. It's just, I was ready for Incredibles 2, dude. I didn't even want to watch trailers before the fucking movie.
I was just ready.
Bro.
I feel the same.
And it's like, when we talk about other movies, when we review them, the trailers are just so long, and there's like fucking commercials now. And it's like, Jesus Christ, man, give me 3 hot trailers and move the fuck on. I can watch these on the internet. And some of them are cool. Like, don't get me wrong, seeing the new Predator film trailer on the big screen, Maddie loved it. Maddie loved it. Maddie wanted it. But at the same time, it's like, man, I came here to watch a movie, and it says it starts at this time. You know, I got shit to do. I got a podcast to do after this movie. I gotta go buy some new shoes. Shit, let's get on with it. I'm ready to see a movie. You know, it's like, because people show up late. Like, have you guys been in the theater and it's just like, you're like, oh, sweet, I got this spot next to me. I'm going to like stretch out a little bit. And then everyone runs in as soon as the movie starts. It's like, God damn, people know. People know you're going to show a shit ton of trailers now. So don't do it. Don't do it anymore. So they feel bad when they show up late and they're like, oh shit, we're already 10 minutes into this movie. So people learn to show up, be punctual. Just saying. Got some gripes with like the way things are done.
That was the Maddie Minute.
Sorry.
that was good.
I want a Lucas the Spider feature film, by the way.
Have your theater experiences gotten worse in Seattle?
You know, I really thought they would be worse in Cincinnati, but I think they're a little worse here.
Wow, that's interesting.
And I don't know if it's like because people are paying more that they feel like they should be able to talk more. Because like, I paid a shit ton of money. I'll do whatever the fuck I want. Because I'm paying $20 for this ticket. I didn't pay $20 for my ticket. It was like $14. But still, I mean, that's like a meal, dude.
Oh, yeah.
And I just, I mean, I don't know if people feel a little more entitled or if it's just younger generations feel like you should just talk through stuff. I don't get it. I think I'm just too old at this point.
Well, we're all getting up there, bro. All right,
everything hurts.
Stefan, bow.
I agree with a lot of what Maddie was saying in terms of just being ready for Incredibles 2 to start, and trailers and all that shit, and people and all that shit. But I really enjoyed Bow as well. It was nice and sad. I'm really close with my mom, so I was like, ah, man, it got me. And also coming from my trip to Asia, I knew what Bow was. I was like, all right, a movie about pork buns. I was like, this is cool. And so it was good. It was nice. It was sad. I didn't understand what the fuck was going on. Even after the reveal, it was her son. I was like, wait, what? Oh, okay, I see. I don't know. I guess I wasn't paying as much attention as I was watching it.
Because you wanted that Incredibles too, Doc.
Yeah, and it got to the reveal of it being her son or whatever, and I was like, oh, okay, I see. And like, I thought, yeah, it was all right. It was all right. It was fun.
You know what? I love it. It's good.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It was okay. I give it out of shorts, I give it a 3.
3 out of 10?
3 out of 10, yeah.
Wow.
For shorts. No, shorts are 5, 1 out of 5. So
3 out of 5.
3 out of 5, yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
I give it a 3.5 out of 5.
That's cool. Yeah, I really liked it. I do think length is an issue, and this one was maybe nearing the long end, but it did end kind of at an okay time, I guess. It wasn't that 25-minute bullshit. I like the story, and it did... Like, whenever she eats that fucking dumpling, it's like you don't expect it. And there was like an audible gasp in my theater.
Yeah.
Which is in a theater full of kids, it's a pretty good response. It's not like a bunch of laughing and shit. It's what adults would do, honestly, which was interesting. But then when she eats it, it's like, oh, what's going on? Then when you see the actual son show up, it's like, okay, this is a delusion she's been having. This is how I read it. It's like a delusion she's had because of all the emotional pain she's been having with her son. There's obviously some shit that's been going on there. He was like, fuck you, Mom. And then she couldn't take it. And it's like, I guess maybe even metaphorical, where whenever she eats the dumpling,
right,
it's like your emotions just get the best of you sometimes, and you just can't fucking control yourself.
Yeah.
And then you eat your son. No, I don't know, but it's strange, but I think that's kind of what they were going in. And then you see like the son try to reconnect and shit, and they're eating pork buns together. It's called nikuman in Japanese, but bao in Chinese.
I think they're eating that dessert.
Or a
it's
dessert.
in a pink box.
They're eating something.
Pink box usually means a dessert of some type.
Or donuts or something, right?
Right. Yeah, at the end, there was like those little cream puffs.
Yeah, because they're making the pork buns, and then his wife does it better than he does, and she's white.
Right. Right. And the son is trying to make amends for all the shit he's done, and just being from the mother's perspective and like the empty nest syndrome and all that kind of stuff. I think it was pretty moving, at least for me, and I enjoyed it. So I'm gonna give it like 4 out of 5 indeeds.
Indeed.
On the short scale. And speaking of indeeds, we're now into final thoughts, rounding out the whole review here, guys. So final thoughts, and out of 10, how many indeeds does Incredibles 2 get, Maddie?
This is stressful. I would say see this movie. This is why I go to the theater. When I was watching it, there was nothing else going on except for like people being rude. But like sometimes I get into movies and I'm just like, oh my god, I gotta pee now. Oh my god, I'm gonna have to pee through this entire fucking movie. But Incredibles just, I don't know if it's animated films or whatever, but it fucking locked me in. It's a solid 2 hours, man. And at no point was I thinking about anything else. I wanted to see the journey of all the characters. I need to know where they were. And I don't know if it's because I waited so long to see this movie. And usually we have this like pretty big turnaround for like the bigger comic book movies. Like, don't get me wrong, Infinity War, I need to know what I want to see Thanos. I need to know what goes on. But Incredibles just like locked me the fuck in. And I think it's a lot of Brad Bird's storytelling, because I feel like all his films are that way. I always want to, like, he just keeps me so engrossed in what's happening, because there's no dull moment. The action's very well done. See it. It's why you go to the theater, people, to see movies like this. This might be high, but I'm going to have to give it 10 out of 10 indeeds. I didn't have any problem with it. My worst problems were just the theater going experience, and I can't blame a movie for that, for idiots in the fucking theater, because they made a badass movie, and I think it's what you do with a sequel. I think if this is the only we only get 2 Incredibles films, then Jesus Christ, man, Brad Bird went out on top, and Iron Giant makes me cry all the time. So
SuperHouse first, everybody, 10 out of 10.
Yeah. So, I loved it, man. It was fun, and I probably won't own any of these movies, but just because I don't rewatch a lot of animated stuff, but just like having a good time and being that engrossed in the characters, and I hadn't seen them. I don't think I've watched the movie in like at least 10 years. I want to watch it now, though, That's what a sequel should do. It should make you want to go back and rewatch the old one. Be like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. I should rewatch that movie. Yeah, man, 10 out of 10. I stand strong.
Nice.
Wait, I don't know. Yeah, 10 out of 10. Just kidding.
Stefan.
What was the other part of the question besides the rating?
Final thoughts in general.
Oh, yeah. Final thoughts in general. I just really enjoyed it. Like what Maddie was saying, the pace of it was really well done visually. It's just like so striking, and it guides you along so effortlessly. It's like a ride, It's just so well designed through and through. Got to get that Frozone movie going. I'm ready. Incredibles 3, I'm ready. I'm going to go ahead and give it, just because on my scale, if I'm going to give something a 10, that's just like blown away. Not to say anything against your rating, Maddie. I think I like that you broke the seal on that one. That's monumental. But just for my own personal scale, I'm gonna say, because it's like a kids movie, and there are certain themes that I would have been like, go deeper, make it like, heavier or something like that. It's just like there are other movies that are able to do that outside of the kid movie realm. So I'll rate those lower just by standard. But that being said, I'm gonna say this is a solid 7.5 for me, and that's high.
Wow, that's low.
That's not low. I wanted to set my gauge there. That's high.
All right.
7.5 is highly enjoyable and highly recommended.
All right.
Okay. Yeah, 7.5.
Sounds good. All right, so
if the first one's an 8 is where I'm gauging it.
I got you.
First one's an 8. That's 7.5.
It's all good. I just wanted to give you some shit. All right. So. Love the first one. I told you guys in chat, but just to keep this, tell the audience as well. We were in college when the first one came out. I was in film school. So was Stefan. Maddie was in illustration school. Anyway. So we're in school. I'm taking screenwriting and probably 2005 or whenever the fuck this movie came out, 2004, and God, it was a long time ago. Anyway, screenwriting professor, we asked him, it was like near the end of the year, we were like, what's the best movie this year? And he was like almost reluctant to say, he kind of half laughingly said it, but he stood by it. He was like, I think it's The Incredibles. It's the best movie this year. And this is a guy that loved fucking like Charlie Chaplin, and like he was, liked old school silent cinema and shit. So this guy, he had the fucking, did you know Nolan, Stefan? Okay. Yeah, it was him.
I still have that book that he gave us.
Oh, nice.
That was an unpublished screenwriting book.
Oh, nice.
A friend of his was writing. It was awesome.
I never got that. Nolin, not like the director. Anyway, he said that, and that's always kind of stuck with me. And I always like looked at the first one like just to try to see what he saw. Like as a script writing professor, like you do look at that. When I look at that movie, I'm like, wow, yeah, that. Like everything that happens in that movie is like fucking pitch perfect as far as pacing and action and how the characters are written and all that. And I think that carried on into this one. And usually there's a lot of times there's like some quality degradation from the first to the second. You get diminishing returns. But I guess they just had such a fucking long time in between the two. They were able to develop the script to the best it could be. And it turned out fucking great. I mean, yeah, there's really not much bad to say about it. And I'm going to give it 9.5. I don't feel confident enough to give it a 10, but it is quite solid. And that's it for me. So that finishes the review of The Incredibles 2. Go out and fucking see the shit.
Hello. Welcome to the room of mysteriosity.
Not a word.
Anyway, so I was so entertained by the conspiracies list that Andrew put together that I was like, there's another road that this goes down, So I started thinking of maybe like urban legends and myths and video games and stuff like that. So I put together this list that I've titled Top 10 Video Game Myths and Mysteries, because they're not quite the same exactly, so that's where I kind of split that off at. But I'm going to start a little light. Shenlong. Shenlong is the supposed name of a secret character in the original Street Fighter II game. The name became video game myth when a mysterious Ryu victory screen read, "You must defeat Shenlong to stand a chance." This had fans wondering if there was, in fact, a secret character tied to Ryu somewhere in the game. This also led to the myth being expanded upon and speculated upon for some time by fans and gaming magazines. EGM in 1992 fanned the fire by stating the legend was true, but it turned out to be an April Fool's joke that left a lot of people still questioning, needing answers. It turns out the name Shenlong featured in the game was a mistranslation of the word Shoryuken. And because of the EGM article in 1992, it's regarded as one of the most famous hoaxes in video game history.
All right, I grew up with this shit because I was a Street Fighter fan.
Yeah.
And I read EGM, and yes, they had a fucking...
It had a character art and everything.
The April issue had an April Fool's joke every year, if I remember correctly. And that was part of the April issue. And it left all of us fans wondering, like, oh, shit, is there going to be Shenlong? What the fuck? And it never happened. This is one of the most famous mistranslations / hoaxes of all fucking time, man. I think any like old school Street Fighter fan, if Joey was here, I'm sure he would have something to say. This kept like before the internet, this fucking kept us like wondering for a while, dude. Like a little too long. For years, we were like, what's going on with Shenlong? Now, when fucking like Street Fighter 4, I believe they had that character Gotetsu, I think. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I felt like he should be who Shenlong is.
Mm-hmm. But there was for a time like fans speculated that it was like the teacher of Ryu and Ken, And this legend kind of in a way led to the design of Akuma and Gokui, who are actual characters now in the game and part of their mythology.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
So, yeah, it's kind of just a legend. It's just a legend, but it's obviously an interesting place to like create a character there, especially at this point in fucking Street Fighter V arcade just came out. Shenlong, just fucking make him, put him in the game, make him badass, and then put the legend or the hoax even to bed and move it along. It's already part of the mythos, so I don't know. I love Street Fighter 2. It'd be awesome.
I think that now that I'm thinking about it even more, I think that there might be some issue with the fact that Shenlong is a Chinese name.
Yeah.
And they're supposed to be taught in Japan by karate masters, which is a Japanese martial art. That being said, it could be like they could work it in where it's like a Chinese alias that this Japanese guy is using or something. I could see them switching it up that way.
Yeah, it'd be interesting.
Indeed.
My number 5 on my list is the Minecraft Ghost. Herobrine, the ghost in Minecraft, began as a post on the Minecraft forums in 2010, accompanied by a foggy screenshot of a distant figure standing just on the edge of the fog. The post stated that the player had seen a copy of the default player character with no eyes, but anytime he tried to get closer, the figure would turn a corner or walk into the fog and disappear. It also reported seeing man-made structures randomly appearing in his world, and that he had been contacted by other players who had also seen the figure. After his first post, he reported being contacted by a user called Herobrine, who simply said, "Stop. Notch, the game's creator, has said that Herobrine does not exist and has never been a part of the game in any capacity. However, the plot thickened with the Minecraft Beta 1.6.6 update when it included in the list of patch notes was an item reading -removed Herobrine. This is most likely just a joke by Notch to poke fun at the hoax, but with lots of reports of Herobrine sightings, it does make one wonder."
So it's like a ghost Minecraft character walking around.
Yeah, it's like a ghost image, or it's like the main character that you play has got like a little turquoise shirt and like a little side sweeping kind of hairstyle. Just your kind of everyman kind of look. And
does he haunt the character? He just pops up and scares you and then leaves.
Yeah, that's the thing. When people report seeing him in their game or whatever, the small community that has kind of like stimulated and propagated this legend say that he's like I just said, like he'll like disappear if you try and go up to him, or you turn a corner and he'll be there, and then you turn away to run away or something, and then he's gone, or it's like it's like any other kind of ghost story. It's just like I went to go grab the camera, when I was back, the thing had disappeared.
I feel like if you were doing like a late night session on Minecraft and then you turn the corner and then there's that would be a little spooky.
That would fucking send a chill down my spine, man. I love the idea of ghosts in video games now, which I know I have to watch. There's a Japanese movie that's kind of about a ghost in the internet or something like that. But this one I liked because there's like, what if this one's similar to another one I was going to add to the list, which is one I think I've kind of talked about with you guys, this Vinesauce Active Worlds. This guy encounters this mysterious NPC in the game, and so this idea of just there being like some thing or some person, some player that's not supposed to be there by all accounts, that's existing in the game with you, and a late night session and you discover something like this, it would be fucking perfect. It would just be like so terrifying. So I thought Minecraft is kind of a very atmospheric game, so it can go either way depending on if you're playing it late at night or during the day, or whatever. If you do late night session, that music is like it could be kind of eerie, and the environments, and then at night, you're not supposed to be at night if you play survivor mode. Minecraft's dope.
I've never played it, but I think there's a big generation gap. So you've played the game?
Yeah, Minecraft is awesome. I've mostly played where you can like build your own stuff, and there's 2 modes. You can build your own stuff and just kind of explore the world, and like mine shit and make stuff, or you can play survivor mode, which is you start from scratch with nothing and you learn how to make fire, how to do this, how to do that. Hold on.
I've thought. Are you there?
Yeah.
All right, so I've thought a little bit deeply about Minecraft. All right. The fact that it's huge and there's a big generation gap going on here, as far as, like, if you look at our cartoons and how we grew up, we had like all these like crazy action cartoons, Transformers, Ninja Turtles, Thundercats, He-Man, all this fighting, G.I. Joe, right? And I've wondered, like, we're just raised on that, like a bunch of fucking like just action and violence kind of.
Right, yeah.
Cut to kids these days, and like the cartoons, honestly, like you got Adventure Time, which is just whacked out, regular show, don't even know how many kids are watching that. Teen Titans Go, it seems like there's this huge movement away from action with kids. So does that translate into video game taste? You know what I'm saying? Like, does like instead of playing a first person shooter, do they want to just build some shit in a fucking video game?
More color, more options, to more different things to do, less difficulty, maybe
less violence, more creativity driven. Like I feel like is all this connected, or am I just thinking too much? You know?
Yeah. No, I think it's a valid thought. It's an interesting thought. And definitely like the age gap is a huge aspect of what we're seeing. Like I played Minecraft just because it got really popular for everybody, like of all ages, for a small bit, and now at this point it's kind of like fallen out of the main, the adult mainstream. But for kids, especially of a certain age, they're still playing Minecraft, and you get lost in that world, and if you get good at it, you could, I don't know. It's just like kind of an endless exploration, creativity kind of game, and there's consequences in it as well.
Like
so
my friend that's like right at our age, he had kids early, a coworker of mine, and his kids are like 9 and 11 or some shit. He had kids in his early 20s, all right? But he is like almost exactly our age. And he said, like, his kids will just want to play Minecraft all fucking day long, and he just does not get it. And he just wants to play Doom or some violent shit, Mass Effect or something.
Yeah,
which isn't super violent, but if there's shooting in it.
Imagine if you're 6 years old. This is Legos, for a lot of kids now, and I think it affords you that aspect of creativity that somebody that young needs, like probably when you're younger, I think violence, when I'm around that age, especially, like violence or action and stuff like that is probably like, it's for me, it's like why I think I probably wasn't so into like Transformers as much. Well, I can't say that I like Transformers, but I don't know. It's something that I think I'd have to think about as well. But I think
I'm probably like connecting those two a little bit too much, but I've just thought about it. And then you got the new Thundercats, which is everybody's hating, but if anybody has gone down this SoundCloud list and seen American Otaku and the co-host I had at that time, he is Panthro in the new Thundercats. Cool. So I'm supporting that 100%, and that's a tangent, but it does.
Those designs, though.
The designs do show like a change in like from action to just having fun, y'all. Yeah. Like, and it's probably better for kids because we probably raised on too much violence, but whatever.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of Teen Titans Go. I don't really know much about it, to be honest. But that movie trailer, that shit looked pretty good to me. I thought it looked fun as hell. The animation looked great.
I love Teen Titans, dude. I've seen almost all of them.
I get where it's going, and the original Masters of the Universe cartoon had great toys, you know what I mean, but also was pretty lighthearted in its execution, a lot of comedy, as we all learned from the toys that made us. I'm just like regurgitating what they're saying, but
That Transformers episode was the shit, by the way.
Yeah, it was so good. But like it can be those things, it can still have the adventures and the magic and the whatever, but it also is gonna be lighter. It's gonna be.
Did you see the Transformers episode?
Yeah, I've seen them all.
Oh
so
man,
good.
I loved it.
Great.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So that's the Minecraft ghost.
Sorry for that humongous tangent there, man. Take it away, Stefan.
Okay, the next one is called The Hall of Tortured Souls, Excel 95. If you are a multi-billionaire CEO of the biggest tech company in the world and also secretly the devil, as some internet urban legends suggest, where would you hide evidence of the damned souls that you collect and torture? Spreadsheet software, right? This is, again, comic book resources.
Damn, I wish that was SuperHouse original.
By Matthew Stevens, 5/5/2017. I just want to give the dude credit because all your words. So, we don't know about Bill Gates being the Lord of the Underworld, but there's a pretty creepy Easter egg hidden in Excel 95 that probably doesn't help put the rumor to rest. If you go down to the 95th row, select the whole row, tab over column B, go to help/about, hold Control-Alt-Shift.
Who the fuck found out this shit?
And click the tech support button. A mini game window appears called Hall of Tortured Souls.
What?
It consists of a room with glowing green pools and another with red names dripping down the wall. But if you type in all capital letters EXCELKFA while facing a certain direction, a wall disappears and you can cross a narrow bridge leading to a room with pictures of the developers. Obviously, it's just a joke poking fun at the monotony of writing spreadsheet software.
Oh my
but
god!
You have to
I
know.
would imagine that must be fucking soul crushing, dude.
Yeah. But you have to know a weirdly specific set of button presses to get there. So how did they expect anyone to find it?
Well, someone fucking did.
Someone fucking did. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So
unless someone from that team released it.
That's when I'm watching Silicon Valley, I'm like, man, I want to be like these guys some of the time. They're awesome, and I want to be like a hacker dude who knows all this code and software and shit, but no way. Seems like I would never be able to, I think I'm pretty good with computers, but I would never be able to figure that kind of shit out.
If I wasn't in the film industry, I think that's what I'd be doing, because I would just be doing it from home, sending in my code to the company, having a good old time. Putting in satanic imagery in my code.
Yeah, so it's like a tiny game. It's like a little experience with like eerie music, and then, here, I'll send you the.
Is it just one Is Excel 95? It wasn't in.
It wouldn't have been in any of the others. It seems like.
That's crazy. So this is real.
Yeah, this is real, and I sent you a link here. You can see some of the images that are associated with this particular. This is not a myth, really, and I guess this fits into the category of being a mystery for some time.
Or a legend.
A legend, yeah. So, pretty cool, pretty creepy, fucking very funny. Love it. Sinister. Keep it coming, Microsoft.
That's pretty good. I like that one. That might be my favorite one so far, Stefan.
Okay, cool. So there's no, there's no particular order. I didn't necessarily pick any one of these as being greater or less. Obviously,
you got to tell us your favorite at the end of this, though.
I will. So coming up next is one of my, it's definitely a favorite, is the Lara Croft nude code.
Oh, legendary.
Yeah. So back in the day when we're, just getting to know, going through our adolescence, as Dash had said in Incredibles 2. We all get curious of the fairer sex, and sometimes we don't have many outlets for that at such a young age, and it's our heroines that what am I saying?
You're trying to say that
what I'm trying to say is back in the day you wanted to see them titties.
Yeah.
And even though they were like basically like some kind of trapezoidal, triangular, polygonal.
Wait, that's
mess.
not how boobs look?
Yeah. I mean, I think pretty
ones.
close. I think they were good enough for me back in the day. Anyway, Lara Croft back then, you're like, there was a legend, like, you'd either have some friend or it'd show up in a magazine potentially, or maybe this was closer to AOL, so I kind of feel like maybe the internet, definitely. But who didn't want to see Lara Croft nude back in the day?
You wanted to see anything nude back in the day.
Yeah, exactly.
I was definitely aware of this too at the time. I had to delete my AOL web history from my parents because we were sharing a computer at the time. Really tried to find this out, and there was a early website called nuderaider.com or something like that.
Yeah.
And it was just that, because I had the PlayStation version. I didn't have the PC version. I couldn't get the mod, and the mod was real as far as I can tell for PC. But you could, and there was like, I don't know if you were going to get to this or not, Stefan, but there was a code. There was a rumor of the code being available, like a cheat code,
right? Yeah.
Like down, up, left, right, R, whatever the fuck.
It was a sought after thing. Like at that time, you thought it was real, and you're like, obviously, like these nerdy game developers, of course, of course they've rendered her nude. You know what I mean? At the time, the technology was still new, so that was more realistic than what we had with, the Sega Saturn or something. Wait, they were kind of this on the same,
was same generation
with like 16-bit, or like it was like the next step. So we'd never seen that before, and you're like, oh man, she's looking good. This game is great. The graphics are amazing. And so
they made. They made like the bustiest character we'd seen at the time. It was a huge deal.
And that whole handstand mechanic and stuff, and it was very like not it was very sexualizing. She was a sexualized character from the get go, and that's 100%. I think is put a lot more in check in video games now than it ever has been. But definitely at the time, it was still kind of like Wild West in that regard, and a lot of games were basically played by men. Or it was assumed that the demographic was mostly men of a certain age group that made and played these games, and so as we found out later, a lot of women were playing games for a long time.
A lot of women play games as well. It just was underreported for whatever reason.
Yeah. And the things that were popular that sold were stuff like this, so it really was like led to a contention of being very conscientious about like sexualizing characters in games.
Well, her cup size got like 2 times bigger each game until like the until the 4th one, and then there was the reboot, or they kept her at a huge size for a while, and then the reboot where she's smaller than she ever was because they're desexualizing her, which is the move to make. But it was the 90s, man.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it was the late 90s, and that's just where we were. And as it turns out, the Lara Croft nude code never existed. It's been acknowledged by fucking Crimson. What are they called? Who made the game?
ADOS.
ADOS, yeah. So it never existed, and there have been mods since then, obviously, for PC versions and stuff, and potentially for cracked consoles, where you could.
The mod was there in the very first one for PC, right?
Right,
because you can do that with PC.
Yeah, somebody who's a whiz, some graphics whiz, whipped it up and probably shared it amongst friends or something like that. But and images that had been doctored and things like that were rampant. But all in all, there never really was such a thing. So it was kind of a sad, but at the same time, it's probably for the best that we didn't have the nude Lara Croft. Leave her dignity, huh?
She's supposed to be a hero, it's
and what they're doing with her now is so good, It's the reboot. I love Tomb Raider Oblivion, where they don't really shy away from the expected Lara Croft kind of thing, but they don't also like focus on it and like have her tits jiggling too much, or like her ass in frames and stuff like that. It's pretty like straightforward. So it wasn't until the reboot that they really were concerned with the way that this character is being perceived and how they could move her on into the future. So, but for a time, that's the only thing you ever wanted, as a kid. So why that one's pretty huge.
I sought it out myself.
So that's my list.
Wait, so which one's your favorite, man?
My favorite, I think, out of all of them is probably the Hall of Tortured Souls. Obviously, because it's like the most real, and just like, however the hell you discovered that, if you did discover that, that would be like, I don't know. I like Minecraft Ghosts too. I think is good, even though that would be like one of the most easy to disprove, obviously. But I just like that idea of the ghost in the video game. I think for the most part, the list is good. I like the Shenlong stuff too. How just like a mistranslation can turn into a this myth and people speculating on the character. And
I was on the ground floor for that one. I know all about that. Grew up with that one, man.
Yeah, and so just the way overall, just the way that games can stimulate our imagination so much, because a lot of people talk shit on video games about like it's rotting your brain, or you're not thinking for yourself, and like go outside and play while you playing this blah blah blah. But games do so much to stimulate our imagination that even when we're not playing the game and creating the myths outside of what we're playing, like when I first played No Man's Sky, I was so set. I thought the coolest aspect of it was that when you're talking to somebody else about their game, like no two games seem to be described the same. And that seemed cool to me. And the ability to get lost, or even the madness of developers to like hide things and to kind of throw you onto these trails or something and leave these clues. Because it seems like in our daily lives, things like Occam's razor, like the most likely explanation is probably the right one,
the simplest explanation.
Yeah. So to even the one of them that I left out that I always thought was really good, and I don't know how to represent it other than just sharing the video that it is the Vinesauce one with active worlds and this guy finding this creepy character talking to him in this really cryptic kind of like language. It has since been confirmed that it was like a joke and the community was still around and some mods had been incorporated and stuff like that. But at the time when I first learned about it, it's like, oh my God, Ghost in the Machine, and that tickles me pink, brothers.
Can I share the one before we close out this section?
Absolutely.
You deleted it from the list.
I wanted to do it, but then I was like, I couldn't find anything on it really. So go ahead. Yeah.
There's the thing is, it probably doesn't. It was probably just very local to my area, but
yeah.
All right. So if you remember Killer Instinct in the arcade and in Super Nintendo, it was a Mortal Kombat type of game. It had fatalities and everything like that. And one of the characters was a woman named Orchid, and her fatality in the actual game was she like showed you her chest, but her back was turned towards the screen. Okay, this was actually in the game. Very weird. And then the person would die, and it was like fatality or whatever it was. And then
that from some titties.
Yeah, basically, yeah. And that was strange in and of itself. But then, like everybody, I remember growing up, they had like people were saying that, oh, there's a code you can do where she turns towards you and her boobs are they got warts on them and shit. And I was like,
that's what I think is so funny. I'm like, what?
Yeah, why not just regular boobs? But they were like, oh, it's like a fatality. It's kind of gross. She's got warts on them. And I was like, yeah, bro. So that was like, I remember trying to find that out for the longest time, but just came to find out that it was, just some shit some kids were saying. But I remember believing that for a while.
Yeah, yeah.
So
again, when you're young, you want to see them boobies, even if they got warts on them. You want to see it, and you're gonna go to what lengths that you can to get that code. And this was just around the time when we were really getting privy to what even the internet was. So, imagining kids now born into the internet.
Hell, I think Killer Instinct 1 was before the internet, and then maybe 2, around the time of 2, it was.
So information travels so fast, so myths and legends and things like this can be debunked fairly easily, fairly quickly.
That's a good thing about the internet. Like back in the day, if somebody said some shit, you just believe it for a while.
Right. It's really good. And then I think, with a lot of these legends and stuff like that, it's the storytelling that's built in, because the thing that's real about it is is how powerful your imagination is, and the way that it creeps you out, or the way it stimulates that. So I think like, keep them coming. I want more game urban legends. I want more video games. For Christ's sakes, but having things embedded, or these mysterious occurrences, Polybius, and this stuff we talked about with the conspiracies, it's just such an interesting realm to find, legends that aren't already built into the game, and I think that makes it so fun.
Okay, we're ready to wrap this one up.
Yeah, for show.
All right, that was episode 132, everybody. Thanks, Shasta, first of all, and then thanks again, everybody, for listening. And that's basically it for me. I'm glad that we were able to up the mic game, and going forward, it'll sound like this or even better. So so buttery smooth.
Oh, yeah.
Indeed. Okay.
Indeed.
Andrew signing off.
Maddie signing off.
This is Stefan and Transmission.
This is Stefan from the SuperHouse Podcast. Be sure to check us out on Patreon, on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and any other godforsaken social media outlet that we should be floating on.
We are basically on all social media.
Yeah, all social media.
Mainly Facebook and Twitter and Patreon.
Check out the links in the description.
We have a lot of cool goals set up on our Patreon. Like, if you donate $1, you'll be able to give us a topic for us to talk about. And we'll talk about for maybe an hour or more. Who knows how long it'll take.
And that's pretty tight.
That's the coolest thing.
Wait, we're on the internet?
That's pretty good.
And we can make money.
What?
If you donate $1,000, you get full frontal nudes.
We haven't set that up, but it's a possibility. You give us $1,000, who knows what'll happen.
Check us out.
I'll do that. I'll do that.
You get to go on a date with one of us for $10,000.
But you pay for everything.
You get to have your way with Maddie for $20,000.
I'll give you Joey for a weekend.
For $30,000, we'll help you hide a body. Check out our Patreon.
SuperHouse Gigolo Project.
2018.
Links in the description.